Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL Game Week 30 Deadline stream, and it's live. My name's James. Hope you're all set up and ready to go for the FPL Deadline that is just under an hour away. I will do my best to go through as many of your questions as possible between now and the FPL Deadline. Get your questions in. Before you do, please have a quick look at the graphics. Make sure that your answer to your question isn't already there. So this week I have decided 1 week punt, Timo Werner in for me. Possible insanity because the guy can't hit a cow's ass with a banjo. But hey, let's see what happens, right? I think the confirmation from Thomas Tuchel yesterday that suggested he will start for Chelsea was enough for me to remove Ollie Watkins and say, do you know what? They're playing one of the weakest teams in the league at home today. Let's take a punt on it. So that's what I've decided to do. So I line up this week with Areola is still in goal for myself. Back four of Dallas, Stones, Diaz, Konsa. Midfield three of a fit again, Heung-min Son, Ilkay Gundogan and Rafinha. Up front is Werner, captain Harry Kane, Dominic Calvert-Lewin on the bench, and I suggest the order of my bench is probably quite important for me this week, so I don't anticipate all three of my Manchester City players are going to play. So I have Souček first sub, Soufal second sub, and Ademola Lookman as third sub. Let's get links sent out and we'll go through your questions as we do. Let's see who's in first. We've got, I'm going to guess it's Edwin Guan. It is Edwin Guan. Hello, James. Why is Alonzo the best Chelsea defender this week? The best punt this game week other than him? Thanks, legend. Well, kind of just explained for those who just joined in why I've gone with Timo Werner. The thing is with Alonzo, everyone seems to have, certainly in the Twitter community, everyone seems to have convinced themselves that Marcos Alonso is going to start. And I'm not saying that they're wrong. I just have absolutely no idea if he does or he doesn't, personally. Should he play? Yeah, the upside of someone like Alonso is great, and I get the chase in that upside. I don't have any issue with it. Personally, I have no idea if he plays or not. Simple as that. I think Azpilicueta is probably the safer play. But no one's suggesting you should go for the safe play. Anyone who wants to go for Marcos Alonso should go for Marcos Alonso. I think my take on it was I was going to end up probably going for Mendy because I think Mendy over Areola is probably quite clear to say, yeah, that's a better choice. But I like the upside of Werner. Everyone else seems to be going Alonso. So Werner looks like he's going to start against one of the weakest teams of the league, playing at home. I fancy Chelsea to get a few goals today. You can see my predictions to the left-hand side of the screen. I'm backing Chelsea to win 3-0. That's why I'm going with him personally. I should have mentioned my top 10 captaincy picks are to the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Harry Kane's going to be heavily backed. Looks like 67% of the Planet FPL patrons are going to be going with Harry Kane as captain. There's a little bit of Bruno Fernandes, a little bit of Rafinha, not a lot of anybody else. Also, you'll see below me benching dilemmas. That'll answer many of your questions. There are 5 pages worth of benching dilemmas, and either or. The green tick means that's my preference over the player below. Page 5 contains some goalkeeper benching dilemmas, but I think most of us have probably got a goalkeeper who's got a decent fixture this week, and then it runs through from page 1 to page 4, etc. I have put Aubameyang top of the list on the benching dilemmas. I have seen a couple of teams with him on the bench tweeted on Twitter this week. My personal take on that is they're playing Liverpool and they don't like playing against pace over the top. So I think Aubameyang probably plays on the left, but actually in this game that might be beneficial for him rather than up front. Anderson FPL says Cresswell or Cancelo. Those two are on the bench in dilemmas, my friend. Matteo D. Hi James, would you remove Mount or Gundogan for Bruno? I think one, if not both, may be benched. Thanks, pal. Thing is, it's kind of a laced question in the sense I don't know what you're doing next week, right? So is it a 1 week punt? Bruno's obviously not a punt. I could have got Bruno. I mean, I've still got about 6 million sitting in the bank, so I could have taken a -4 to get Bruno in. Didn't think it was worth it as I wasn't going to be captaining him. So if you're going to captain him and you really, really want him, then yeah, I wouldn't expect United v Brighton to be particularly high scoring personally. If you were to remove one, if you remove Mount and he plays, you'll regret it. And if you remove Gundogan and he plays, you regret it. Gundogan's another one. Everyone seems to have decided that Gundogan's not going to play today. Sitting in my team. I'm not particularly stressed about it. Alden says, let's go. Pushkar, can you help me bench one out of Cresswell, Dallas, Dean and Target? I'm leaning towards leaving out Target. Dean, you're not leaving out. Dallas, you're not leaving out. I think I would go Cresswell over Target. So, yeah, same as that. Callum says, can Leeds United score 4 goals versus Sheffield United today? Question. Yes, they can. Because if they do, then Rafinha foot card will get upgraded from 87 to 89. Let's go, Leeds. Amazing, Callum. I'm so excited for you. Alistair Coper. Hi, James. You reckon Jota starts? Plan to bring him in, but is he a risk? Of course he's a risk. Listen, bottom line, we're coming back from international break. There's some teams like Liverpool. Liverpool haven't played for 3 weeks, and Firmino's fit. Of course he's a risk. I think Jota starts. Ash says, bench 3. Stones, Diaz, Konsa, Bale, Gundogan and Watkins. I would bench Konsa out of that. I would, to be honest with you, with what you've got there, I would probably bench Bale. Wouldn't bench Stones or Diaz. You've got the cover with the players you've got, so just start them. If you end up having one come in, one comes in. I would probably pick Watkins over Gundogan. I think they're both on the bench in dilemma anyway. I'm sure I've gone Watkins over Gundogan. Paul Sweeney, start Cancelo or Gundo. Pal, cheers, mate. Again, I'd probably be inclined to go with the defensive. That said, I mean, look, Gundogan, I've got him on my captaincy top 10 this week. Nah, fuck that. Play Gundo, mate. Play Gundo. One of the benefits with Man City players these days is Guardiola seems reluctant to make many subs, so there's every chance that he's benched and he stays benched, right? I'd play Gundogan personally. That's what I'm doing. Pushkar says, what are you expecting for the Arsenal-Liverpool game? I have an eye on Jota before everyone jumps on him next game week. My friend did a whole hour podcast on Arsenal versus Liverpool on Thursday. I'm back in Arsenal to win. The 2 correspondents both predicted 2-2 draws. Kartik Rao, target to Alonzo. Is that a statement? Thanks. TJ Powell, morning, James. No question, just wanted to say thank you for the great content and the Patreon content, which I'm loving so far. Good luck this week. Thanks very much, pal. You too. Matthew Derbyshire, morning, James. Hope you and the family are well. Taking Dyer out 1 week on Thiago Silva. I mean, well, yeah, take Dyer out. Thiago Silva is fit, and I've seen that quite a few people saying, do you think he needs minutes before Porto in midweek? I think if there's any doubt about him, they'll just wait till Porto in midweek, personally. I think because of his age and his experience, he's probably not someone who needs minutes in the legs. So that wouldn't be the way I'd advise. But if you're happy with your bench, Matt, then just do that. Just do that. It's definitely an upgrade, no doubt about it. Simon says start Bale or Watkins. Be a Watkins for me, my friend. On Bale, I cover this to stop the Gareth Bale questions because I covered this in detail yesterday. I think Gareth Bale will start for Tottenham. I would put it at about 60%. I'm probably as unconfident as I've been all season in predicting a Tottenham level. I can tell you 6 players will probably start. Loris, Reguilon, Højbjerg and Ndombele, Son and Kane. The rest of the team, I'm not even sure what the system will be. Never mind who's going to be the personnel. But I think, as I said yesterday, if Gareth Bale doesn't start against Newcastle, it's probably his Tottenham career over. If you do still own Gareth Bale, I would keep. Would generally speaking be my advice, but would definitely be getting rid next week. Whether he starts today or not, yeah, move it on, honestly. But I think against Newcastle, every chance he starts tomorrow. So my advice, generally speaking, would be keep. But it will not surprise me if he's a substitute. The one benefit with Gareth is if he's a substitute, he basically only comes on if we need a goal. So there's every chance he doesn't play at all. Javier Alcantara says, who do you think will be highest scoring FPL player in the month of April? Who will win April Player of the Month? Well, on my April difficulty tracker, the team that has the best April, in my opinion, is Chelsea. You want a Player of the Month? I will go for Mason Mount. You want a top scoring FPL player for the month? I will go for Bruno Fernandes. Be quite boring about it. James Nelson says, morning James, happy Easter and good luck for the game week. Thanks as always for the outstanding content. Is Antonio to Werner from -4 worth it? Wildcard next week, fancy a punt? Not for me. Antonio's got a great record against the better teams, and Wolves are kind of in the middle of that at the moment. Much improved defensively since they switched system again. Worth a -4. Not for me, my friend. I think if you look at stats, I think over the last 5 game weeks, I think he's had like the most shots in the box or something, and that's despite playing both Manchester clubs and both North London clubs in that period. So no, I would not be binning Antonio. To be honest, I wouldn't make that transfer for free, I don't think. Beals Bob says, hi James, do I go sideways from Bell to Son for a -4? It's just advised, mate. I don't think so, mate. FPL Finding Glory, morning James. Is Rudiger a likely starter for Chelsea? Good luck. It's like how long's a piece of string, isn't it? I don't pick the team. I would say probably yes. Batsa says start Antonio or Watkins. Be Antonio for me at the moment. Insanely football, Diaz or Cresswell in the 11 this week? I expect Diaz to play. I don't see any reason why Cresswell wouldn't play. Christian prefer Roberto Firmino scored 8 goals and 3 assists versus Arsenal in 9 matches so far in the Premier League. Should we buy him and possibly captain? Thanks, Christian. Brilliant question, mate. Pushkar says Pep Roulette predictions. Who starts versus Leicester and who against Leeds? Right, well, Leeds is impossible to predict. I've seen people saying he definitely won't play against Leeds in between the Dortmund games. Well, the 2 Dortmund games are separated by 8 days. So why wouldn't Guardiola just pick his strongest team against Leeds? He likes rhythm in his players. Predict a Man City team today. I will say, I think Cancelo will miss out. Ederson, Walker, Stones, Diaz, Zinchenko, Rodri, Gundogan, De Bruyne, Mahrez, Foden and Jesus. I think Sterling might miss out as well. There you go. That's my predicted Man City 11. Don't need to do any more questions on that, do we? Zaris says, should I keep Bale? If yes, any thoughts for replacements as covered? Moreover, should I play Aubameyang or Gundogan? Greetings from sunny Greece. I miss you, mate. I miss you too, mate. That's a more difficult one. I would not be leaving Aubameyang out, honestly. To be honest, I basically put him on the bench in dilemmas purely to kind of make a point because I've seen a few people leaving him out. So, honestly, Aubameyang against Liverpool could have some joy. Really, really. Alfredo says, should we consider Adama Traore and Romain Saiz for Wolves fiction until game week 35? Adama Traore has 0 attacking returns this season. Not an option in my opinion. Romain Saiz, yes. If you want to go to Wolves attacking player, get Neto. Colin Con, morning James. What do you think of this bench boost? Martinez, Konsa, Dawson and Watkins. Hope your Villa and West Ham score predictions are correct. Really? You think Villa losing 1-0 is going to be good? I think it's fine. Martinez, Konsa, Watkins. Therefore, I'm predicting nothing for you, and I'm not predicting a clean sheet for West Ham either. So, I mean, genuinely, if you ask me to predict your bench boost there, I'm saying 8 points actually. But no, I think that's strong enough to actually pull the trigger and say, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I think with that, yeah, go for it, mate. Blue Caldera, is Joe Rodon the next John Terry? Your thoughts? No. Got some going to be as good as John Terry. I like what I see from Joe. There's a lot in his game that needs to improve massively. I can see the comparison in terms of the type of player they are, but Joe's got a long way to go to even be a guaranteed Tottenham starter. Ben Tyler says, hi James, hope you're well. What do you think about James Rodriguez as a 1-week punt? I can't look at Bertrand Traore in my team anymore. I don't hate it. Ancelotti said he's fit and well, which presumably means all his body parts are attached as well. I don't hate that. I would only advise that if you're wildcarding in 31, which I'm going to guess that you are, Ben. I don't hate it. If that's what your feeling is, you expect Everton to do well on Monday. I do as well. I don't hate it. Billy Taylor says, hey Jimbo, why not Lookman higher up the subs list? Villa look a bit sloppy at the back recently. I fancy Fulham to win. On the predictions, I'm backing Fulham to win 1-0. But I think it's more conceivable that I'm wrong. Hence playing Konsa over Lookman, for example. You say, well, you're backing Fulham to win 1-0, but you're playing Konsa instead of Lookman. Yeah, it's a bit of an out there prediction, a little bit, really. So, Lookman flatters to deceive. He frustrates me as an owner. Definitely won't be part of my wild card next week. I've got no intention to keep him. If I'd have been getting a Bruno in this week, for example, it definitely would have been him that would have been getting binned for me rather than Souček. Souček can score in any game. I remember him missing 2 sitters against Wolves earlier in the season. I think, to be honest, there's more chance for Soufal clean sheet than Lookman scoring or returning tomorrow. So that's why. Alistair Coper still struggling on the bell. Bench boost decision. Still reckon he starts. Alistair, I'm only going to advise you exactly what you heard from me yesterday, mate. Z21293. Hey James, one that isn't on your benching headaches. Lingard versus Antonio. Stick to the simple mantra of always start the forward. Thanks. You got it, buddy. Pontus Johansson. Morning, James. Best three midfielders for this game week. Best three midfielders for this game week, I would say, are Rafinha, Jack Harrison, and Kevin De Bruyne. Make a case to put Sonny in there. I think the question on Sonny, you don't know how fit he is, right? I know Mourinho said he's fit, and I expect him to start, but we don't actually know, do we? Is there going to be caution in his sprinting? You take Sonny sprinting away, you take a lot of his game, for example. So, yeah, Rafinha, Harrison, De Bruyne, maybe as a three. I think you put Bruno Fernandes obviously in the list as well. But I suppose if I was free hitting this week, I bet I would end up with Rafinha. I'd probably end up with Rafinha, Gundogan, and Fernandes, to be honest, because I'd probably find it not affordable to have De Bruyne and Fernandes, because I'd want to have Werner and Kane up front, I think. So, yeah, let's go with that then. Rafinha, Gundogan, and Fernandes. Shrinkit says play Aubameyang over Gundogan given playing time. I've covered that. Skip. Razan Fleur, Gareth Bale and Riyad Mahrez, to Hakim Ziyech and Takumi Minamino. Roseanne, I got a lot of love for you, mate. Joe Knight says, hi James, a player in each area, goalkeeper, defender, etc. of the pitch you want for the run into the end of the season. Goalkeeper, Hugo Lloris. Defender, Kieran Tierney. Midfielder, Jota. Forward, Harry Kane. Zaris says, should I change Dunk to Reece James or Christensen? I already have Rudiger, no money for Aspi. Yes. Go Christensen, keep your fingers crossed. Look, if Dunk comes off the bench, what are you expecting? 2 points, 1 point? Take the gamble. If it's for free, my friend, I wouldn't mind us for it though. Atul says, who do you think takes pens for City, and what do you think of Mahrez from next week until the end? I think De Bruyne takes penalties for Man City, as he always has done when he's been fit for the last year or so. Mahrez till the end, frustrate the life out of you, but capable of getting returns. We know that. We know that if he played regularly, he'd be in majority of people's teams. So he's guessing away when he's going to play and when he isn't is really impossible over this particular period. So you know the risk. CL700, hi James, want to have a 1 week midfield pump for wildcard on Rafinha or Havertz. Should I sacrifice Gundo, Mahrez or Aubameyang? I think you're saying you want to keep Rafinha or Havertz. Should I sacrifice Gundo, Mahrez or Aubameyang? I probably wouldn't. I'd be quite happy with that midfield 5. FTLOL podcast, morning James, what is your favourite flavour of jelly and ice cream? Oh, well, when he gets sacked with blood, probably. Favourite flavour of jelly. Ice cream, I'm quite basic. Give me a vanilla and I'm fucking happy. Oh, toffee. Give me a toffee ice cream. Yeah. Bit of toffee or caramel. Caramel toffee, one of them. Jelly. It's just the fucking shit that wiggles on the side, isn't it? It's not that important. Damien Wazowski, my friend works in Chelsea. Really brilliant. I'm not going to read that out loud, because with respect, Damien, I don't know who your source is. Unless you're going to put in the chat who exactly your source is, that's scaremongering to people. So thank you for the input. If anybody wants to see Damien's comment in the chat, then by all means have a look. I'm not going to repeat that out loud and scare people who are not looking in the chat. But thank you for your comment, Damien. Rich F, tough one here. Start Salah or Lingard. Salah all day long for me, mate. Shane Mir, bench in order for Bertrand Traore and Souček. Can't see them on your list. Maybe they're not. I would go Souček personally. Bertrand Traore has just become frustrated in my opinion. So, Spinard, which Spurs defender would you get for double game week? I wouldn't. Don't overthink it. Lloris, Kane, Son, Lloris. That's it. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother. I wouldn't bother. Alden says, would you bench Diaz and or Stones for Sufel and or Target? My team will probably give you a real good understanding of that. The benching Diaz and Stones, no, I ain't going to bench them, guys. It's not happening. The way I look at it, I go, if I don't play, I don't play. That's what the bench is for. So they definitely play for me. I fancy City to win comfortably today, personally. FPL telling Josh, morning James, great to have you back with the deadline streams. Good luck with the game with you too, Josh. Ella, MCG, Saka to Son or White to Rudimentary, because I don't want to take a hit to do both. I think the upside of Sonny there is probably worth it for you, particularly if you're not on the wild card. Ella, I'll just get that done. Optimus Prime says, hello, Gundogan, no pick of training. That means will not play. Question. I don't know, mate. I've not been looking at training pictures, mate. Dylan Farrell, hi James, no questions, but you have a nice weekend. You too, my friend. I got you, Ella, no probs, mate. Joey B93G, morning, mate. Start Gundogan or Watkins. That one, I'd go Gundogan, I think, to be honest. I think when it comes to City player versus forward, generally I'm probably going to say the City player, even with them fixtures today. Yeah, look, like all of them could get left out, bar Edison, right? Stop playing. If you don't want to play Pep Roulette, just sell the Man City players. Ryan Walker, Cancelo and Gundogan to Alonzo and KDB, -4, worth given in wildcard next week. You ain't going to want to move Gundogan to KDB if Gundogan starts. There's a complete assumption that De Bruyne starts and Gundogan doesn't. Cancelo, I think, doesn't play. Alonso, everybody seems to think, does play. So on that basis, it's a -4 Alonso for Cancelo in my opinion. So the answer has to be no. Joe Knight says James start 2, Sufel, Cancelo, Konsa. Still start Cancelo, and I'd go Konsa over Sufel is what I've gone. Joe FP Warren, morning James. Play one of Gundogan, Lingard or Diaz. I won't leave Diaz out, mate. William Jones, hi James, would you do Cancelo to Rudiger or save it to have 2 for next week? Don't have the wild card, but have the free hit remain. If you don't have the wild card, this is a good week to roll. Game week 32 is going to give you further headaches, by the way. I'd roll, generally. Graf says Grealish over Lingard. I mean, I do not buy Jack Grealish, but if you're still sitting there, then start Jack Grealish. Yeah. Brett W says, evening James from Sydney. Would you move forward with Cancelo or Stones for the rest of the season? Probably Stones, but with reluctance. There's not a lot in it between the two. Meninda says, good morning. Bench Diaz, Foden or Gundo. Not ideal, but bringing in Alonso puts me here. I'd play Diaz, I think. I'd play Diaz. Leaving Gundogan's out. So naughty, though. So naughty. Sam Williams, hi James. Would you transfer Gundo for Rafinha? It would mean benching one of Antonio, Bamford, Lingard as playing all 3 Spurs attackers. There's every chance Bale won't play, and you'll get that anyway then. Gundogan to Rafinha. Yes, if you're wildcarding next week. If not, wouldn't bother. Tiffy says, Timo Werner is my favourite player in FIFA. He's finishing his top class in the game. Yeah. Is this called fantasy? Werner's time will surely change. God is with him. Hope he scores double-digit hauls today. I hope he fucking blanks and they get beat. Craig Davis, hi James. 3 defenders from Diaz, Cancelo, Dallas, Diane. I presume you mean Dean. To leave one out, you wouldn't be leaving Dallas out this week. I'd leave Cancelo out, and then Dean will probably come in anyway. I'd play Cancelo, leave Dean out. Dean will probably come in anyway. Bossman525, that's a bench boost team, mate. It's not, mate, because I've used it. AB wildcard next week. And it's not anyway, because all my Man City players are not going to play. In my opinion, they're in my predicted starting 11, but I'm well anticipating that even 2 of them could miss out. So it's not a bench boost for me, is it? AB wildcard next week. Do I just do Dunk to Alonzo, or do I take a -4 and do Dunk to Rudiger and Trossard to Son? The -4 would allow me to only play 1 Villa defender, but would be triple Spurs attack. You need the turns immediately. It's not like me do a -4 and okay, it didn't work this week, but over the next 3 weeks it might pay off for me. Listen, quite simple. Get yourself in a dark room, predict the points of the players you're selling and the players you're going to buy, and then work out if it's worth it or not. My instinct on that would be probably not. Dusatelli, considering Bale and Cancelo to Son Alonso, what do you reckon? I reckon if it's for free, it's okay. Alden says, morning James, Veltman out for Aspi and Watkins out for Bamford for a hit, or just one of them. We'll have Diaz and Gundo Lingard on the bench if I do both. I would just go Aspi in, I think, mate. Sabisi 1. -4 Watkins to Werner for a punt, wildcarding, or -4 Sufel to Rudiger and bench Stones. It's Werner, isn't it? It's the move I've made, mate. Steve Orton, worth doing a bench boost this week with Sterling and Gundogan, who might get benched after playing 3 games in the break. It's a tough one. This was always going to be the danger of landing on this week for those who are going to bench boost this week, is knowing what the City team will be, and just there isn't any way of knowing, right? I would advise to have a look at game week 32 as a possible alternative, but I mean, realistically, you probably should just swing and just pray that they play. Depends what your keeper and your other third sub is as well. And if you take me, let's say Stones and Gundogan are left out the Man City team, I'd be left with a bench boost of Johnston and Lookman. No, you're okay, mate. I've been down that route before. Adam Lewis says Rafinha or Bamford captain. You can see my captaincy preferences on the right hand side, so I'm going to say Bamford. Start Watkins or Tierney. That's a Watkins clear for me. Divaj says cheers, mate. Suggestion for -4 for Bale to Mount. Nah, I can't advise that, mate. Patrick Lawson, would you do Target to a Chelsea defender or Barnes to Jota? If the latter, I would be benching Stones. Well, Harvey Barnes said there's still got a way to go according to Brendan Rodgers. I'm guessing you've been holding Patrick, and I hope he'd be back now. The way Brendan Rodgers was talking in the way, I wouldn't expect Harvey Barnes back till possibly after the FA Cup semi-final at the earliest. And then you need to see his fitness probably before you buy him. How are Leicester going to set up? Is it even a guarantee he goes straight back into the team? For example, I think Maddison probably won't start for Leicester today, actually. I think he'll stick with the same team and then use him if he wants to and mix it up a bit. So it has to be Barnes to Jota. Andrew Jarvis, bench Ederson, start Martinez. Are they both on the bench in dilemmas? Probably not. I mean, for me, I'm predicting clean sheet for Man City and not for Villa. So, I mean, I would play Ederson, personally. Easton says play Bale or Gundo. Already playing Son and Kane. No, just go Gundo, mate. FPL Alex the Kid. Does the green tick mean start or bench again? I keep forgetting. What do you think it means, Alex? Green tick means start. George Nibbs, morning James. Would you play Antonio or Gundogan? Good luck with the game week. Me, I'd play Antonio, personally. I'd never leave Antonio out against anybody. Sage says Aubameyang to Son for a hit or play Aubameyang. Play Aubameyang, mate. Mark Bennett, wildcard to play next week. Funds for Souček to Bruno and bench Gundogan or Lingard, or dunk to Alonzo and bench Diaz. Thanks. Mark, thanks for your question, mate. It's too much going on there, mate. Sage says bench one out of Diaz, Cresswell or Aubameyang. I'm going to say Cresswell, mate. Nils Appels, morning James, brought in Werner from -4 and I'm captaining him. God help me and good luck all. Why not captain Werner as well, lad? Winky face. You very well know why, mate. Harry gets my back in most weeks. Ian Wilson, is there a reason you bench Souček, or is it because you just prefer all your other players? Question of the day. Well done. What do you think? Why would I bench a player? Yeah, generally it's because I prefer the other 11 players. Ollie Blake, thanks for the content, James. Can you Spurs? Cheers, Ollie. Dylan Kennedy, does Rudiger start with Thiago Silva back? I don't know. I don't pick the team. I would have thought Thiago Silva probably doesn't play, personally, today. Kiris says, hello, would you suggest to start Stones against Leicester or Sufal against Wolves? That's on the bench in dilemmas, my friend. Please have a check the bench in dilemmas, guys. You'll find a lot of the City guys in there, a lot of defensive players. Please have a check before you submit the questions. If you submit the question, you can see your answers there. Please do us the courtesy of deleting. Sebo Slice, should I start Lingard over Grealish, James? No, not for me, mate. Merza says, hi, mate, play Trossard or Sufal. Another two you'll find on the bench in dilemmas, mate. FPL Finding Glory, great content throughout the week, James. Cheers for the hard work. You make it look easy. Don't know about that, pal, but thank you. Joe Knight, do you know who will start in goal for Southampton? Yep. Just spoke to Ralph Hasenhüttl this morning, told me it'd be Fraser Forster. FPL Alex the Kid, does a green tick mean bench the player or start? That's twice, Alex. I don't need to see that a third time, mate. FPL IP man, cheers from Chicago, James. John Stones to Chelsea defender or hold? I do not have wild card. My advice would be hold, as long as your bench is strong enough. Edwin Guan, best midfielder punt. Jorginho. Kante's out, so Jorginho plays. I presume he's on penalties. Or will Werner be on pens? He probably missed though, Werner, wouldn't he? FBI open up, bench Salah or Gundogan. We don't bench Mo Salah, mate. Richev, who would you bench between Salah and Lingard? We don't bench Mo Salah, mate. FPL Patter, good luck for the game week. Happy Easter, and to you, my friend. Lee Corey, does Bell start? I'm skipping that, we've done that. Go back to the start of the stream, my friend. Feely M2, why do you say Pope over Martinez out of interest? There's a clue. See where it says schedule at the moment. It's going to flick round to predictions. I'm backing Burnley for a clean sheet tomorrow. Not backing Villa for one. Rhinos Leeds. Hi James, can you really see City going into next season with only Jesus, or is Pep just trying to keep Haaland price down? Pep's fucking bullshitting. He'll buy someone. Patrick AG. Watkins to Werner for a -4 before wildcard 31. I don't think it's worth the hit. I wouldn't have been doing it for a hit, personally. I've got 6 million in the bank. I could have been taking a hit for any other player. As I'm wildcarding next week, generally, I just don't think that it's worth it. And if you're wildcarding next week, pretty much any -4 you give me, I'm going to say no. Unless you're removing 2 players who definitely aren't going to play. John Harris says Antonio or Jota. It's the same as I'll always. Don't leave Antonio out, mate. He falls in that list. I don't care who he's playing. FPL Alex the Kid. It's a tough one-on-one to start over Watkins or Lingardinho. It's gonna. I'm going to say Watkins, mate. Rahul, Havertz or Mount, whom should I go for? I think the appeal of Havertz is less with the seemingly known that Werner's going to play. That also affects Mount in that situation. It could easily be Havertz and Mount behind Werner, but it could easily be Pulisic, it could easily be Ziyech. If I was punting one net, I would go Havertz out of the 2. But do not be surprised if he doesn't play. Liam Hunt, should I sell Stones for Azpilicueta? Don't know how to spell his name. Very close, other than you've got a Q instead of a C. It's some of the better efforts. You can always just put Aspi, Liam. We'll know who you mean in that case. I wouldn't personally. If you're wildcarding next week, then yeah, fine, reasonable. Stian Bosdale, have a good weekend, mate. Can't wait for the Werner hat-trick. Good luck, pal. Saheb says, would you captain Vardy? No, I wouldn't. Abel says, start Cresswell or Diaz? It's a Diaz for me, mate. Encyclopedia Singh, hey James, should I do Bell to Son from -4 on my bench boost? It's a no from me, mate. It's a no from me. If you need that security, fine, do it. But then you also need Son to outscore Bell. And you'll shit yourself if Bell's in the team. And generally, I'll repeat what I've said for those coming in late. I'll make Gareth Bell 60% to start tomorrow. I think if he doesn't start tomorrow, his Tottenham career is basically over. Because if he's not starting against Newcastle, with 5 days rest from the Wales game, no midweek fixture afterwards, then he's not going to play against United, he's not going to play against Everton, he's not going to play in the Cup final, and therefore his Tottenham career is effectively over. Kepa Arrizabalaga in. Bale, Antonio, Gundogan or Gallas, 2 to play. Well, we never leave out Antonio, and I don't think we leave out Dallas this week. So I'm going to say Antonio and Gundogan. 3-5-2, Adam Pritchard, my Arsenal correspondent, who has been the most underwhelming player this season. You're fucking forward at Arsenal, mate. Ashwin says, hold Dean or swap him for Aspi. Hold. Alden says, favourite FPL podcast other than your very own Planet FPL? To be honest, I'm not going to answer that question now. I have answered it on our exchange streams before, and the problem with that is I leave someone out and it's fucking horrible, because frankly there's 20 to 30 very good FPL content creators out there just in the podcast sector. So I always feel terrible if I leave someone out. My go-to generally is who got the assist, but I haven't listened to it much this season. I don't have much time to listen to other FPL podcasts these days, unfortunately. Anine Dad, should I play Lingard versus Wolves? Well, yeah. Who's playing instead? Taz, rest in peace, the legend that was Claude. Genuinely a great bloke, full of passions. Terribly sad to see that. And Adam's in the chat, and we meant to, on Clash to Correspondence, my fault we didn't mention it. We meant to speak about Claude and David Rocastle, Arsenal legend who died 20 years ago this week. We meant to speak about both of them on the podcast. It's solely my fault that we didn't. Yeah, listen, that's really sad. That's why I always say at the end of the pods, right? Be nice to each other. It doesn't fucking cost anything to be nice. Teeth, I'm taking the piss. It's different. I'm not taking the piss out of this. When I take the piss out of you, it's because I'm taking the piss. But I'm nice. I don't wish anyone ill harm. There's a little bit in the description of the bio that says, ask a stupid question, you may get a stupid answer. T-Tax says, start Watkins, Lookman or Konsa. Yeah, Watkins all day for me, mate. Prashar says start Aubameyang or Gundogan or Watkins. Aubameyang, mate. Good question. Cyrus Barnard, I'm on wildcard. Should I have Son or KDB this week? Son. You're not looking at it just this week, though, are you? You're not going to get rid of either of those players next week, in my opinion. And I think because of the double, you go Son first. Ashish says Lingard or Watkins. Please answer. To be honest, mate, because you've put it in capital letters, I'm not going to bother. Same goes for Fernando Coran. Thanks for the questions. Dylan Farrell, Alex the Kid, stop spamming the chat. There you go. You've been told, mate. You've been warned. Do us a favour, Alex. Go back and delete some of your messages because I've seen you put the same thing in a couple of times, mate. All Stars Club, play Lingard or Aubameyang. Wouldn't be leaving out Aubameyang. Block 5 FPL. Hi, James. On triple Spurs attacks. I'm hoping they make us both happy this weekend. Good luck. Fernando, there you go. That's better. You don't need the capital letters, though. So there we go. We're going to skip that one as well. Alden. Thanks, Alden, for responding. Dossa, if you're going to respond to someone, please at the person you're responding to. Dossan says, who should I captain? Yeah, there's a big clue on the screen, my friend. Enver says, cannot see City keeping a blank sheet against Leicester. A blank sheet? Their track record against Leicester is not great. I know. It's historical performance always affects things. But then you wouldn't play at Liverpool. I've only won twice at the Emirates, so we can't play Liverpool players this week, can we? I think the way Leicester are lining up system-wise at the moment, I think will suit City, and I think City are going to pick a stronger team than most people expect. Anish says, hi James, would you bench Antonio or Gundogan? No, I'd just find a different solution, mate. You know, it's my favourite answer. Stian Bosdale, who should I have as one sub? Target or Cancelo? Stian, my friend, they're both on the bench in dilemmas. I'm starting Rudy, Dean and Dallas. Oh, who do you want as sub one? Well, same thing. Benching dilemmas. That'd be Cancelo for me, mate. Dylan Farrell. Well done, mate. Please at the person, Dylan, so that they know you're responding to you. Hendy Penniff. Bench boost with Pope, Cancelo, Bale and Jorginho or other 6-7 mid. I don't mind going with Jorginho. The thing is, you just have to know that could end up with Bale, being Pope and Jorginho, but yeah, fuck it. Live a little. Go for it. Sammy B. Hey, James. Bench boost with Pope, Bertrand Traore, Soufal and Dunk. What do you reasonably expect from them? To hit what you want from a target bench boost, in my opinion, you need a Pope clean sheet. But just having Pope alone makes it quite strong, in fairness. Owen O'Neill, pick one to start. Grealish or Souček. I'm always going to say Grealish, aren't I? Meg saying Aspi or Alonzo's 1 week punt. We've never covered 1 week punts. Not something we've done at all on our content this week. Rocky X36. Who should I buy for 8 million? Defender, midfielder, forward. Harry Kane. Fernando, next time I see your capital letters, it's just going to be a permanent mute. No offence, my friend. Vivek, whom should I start between Loris and Martinez? That's on the bench in dilemma. Sam Chi says, if you're predicting no clean sheet for Villa, why Konsa over Souček? That's a better question. So to explain that, I did a little bit earlier in the stream. I think it's a little bit of an out there prediction. The other thing with Konsa is I have to factor a lot of people obviously going to start Martinez this week. So if Villa do keep the clean sheet and I've got the Villa player sitting there, it's double pain. And I think he's close enough. Truthfully, I don't think Souček, Soufal or Lookman return this week. I don't think Konsa returns this week either. So I think there's not a lot in it. And the reality is Villa have Fulham at home. Fulham have one of the weakest attacks in the league, right? So it's not like I'm predicting Fulham to nick it. We did Clash of Correspondence with Adam Hotcroft and Dara Curran Tuesday a couple of weeks ago previewing this game. And the one thing we were adamant about it was low scoring. That's why Konsa's in the team for me. Dossan says, should I triple captain Kane? Yeah, it's not like there's a double game week in 2 weeks, mate. Francis Logan, James, disappointed you never got the Celtic job. Eddie Howe announced on Tuesday. Yeah, I didn't apply. To be fair, I know FPL General applied. Graham Frost, Gundo bench. Don't know, mate, not Pep Guardiola. Saleb says, who is the best replacement for Watkins next week? Was thinking Lacazette. Next week, Iheanacho. I wouldn't be, to be honest, Kane, Vardy, Iheanacho, at the moment, in the first draft I'd have done for my wild card, which I'm going to talk about that a little bit at 10 o'clock once the deadline's passed, would be Kane, Vardy, Iheanacho. That's every chance that's going to be my front three on wild card. Christian Lindstrom says, better mid Rafinha or Grealish. Great Easter Spurs, mate. Cheers from Sweden. I mean, not leaving Rafinha out this week. You want to see Grealish is fit before you buy him. If you still have him, you definitely start him, I think. But not over Rafinha. Nafuku and Love. KDB in, Salah out. A wise move or roller transfer. It's a roller transfer for me, mate. You're going to want Mo Salah back in 2 weeks, in my opinion. Rocky says, how would Bamford be in this week? I don't understand your question, mate. How would Bamford be in this week? He will be in number 9 in Elland Road. Your social media assistant, Dan Ball. Can I trust Villa to keep a clean sheet versus Fulham? No, Dan, you can't. Covered this. Lindsay Eggleton play target Diaz or Gundo. Martinez in goal. I mean, leave target out is a very easy one. And you probably go Gundo over Diaz, didn't you? Jack attack, bench Lingard or Shaw. You're not leaving Luke Shaw at home to Brighton with the form he's in, are you? Mind you, Lingard's in amazing form as well, isn't he? Personally, I'll play Lingard. Ross Shortland, hi James, loving the pod. Here from FPL Merch. Hello Ross. I have one question. Start one Conser or Lingard. I'm also owning Martinez. Definitely Lingard for me, mate. Robert Jones, hi James. Do you think JWP could score well this week or take him out for Son for a -4? JWP is a doubt with a calf injury, but Hassan Hootel said it will probably be okay. He's not a powerful player though, is he? Do I think it's worth the -4? If you're wildcarding next week, for me, no. If you're not wildcarding, yeah, do it. Vivek says, is it worth taking a hit to bring DCL in for Watkins? No, not for me. Childish Jambino, hey James, Lingard or Bale for this week? I mean, if you're picking one to start, I would start Gareth Bale. In terms of buying, don't buy Gareth Bale. Joe Finley Bader, morning James. Currently got Watkins, Gundogan and Diaz on my bench. How many points you reckon they score? Truthfully, 10. You're welcome, Dan. Chris Yago, happy Easter, James. Dawson in hospital at the moment. I hope you're well, Chris. Wondered if a punt on Alonzo as captain with Shaw as my bench backup. Aspi and Dallas, my other playing defenders. Yeah, it's fine. You won't be the only one captain Marcus Alonso this week. Just make sure you're vice captain. If you want to take that punt, it's fine. I'm not going to tell you not to. Because the upside is potentially amazing if it works. Like it worked with Trossard last week. Like it's worked for people with Stuart Dallas, like in game week 25 and stuff. Excuse me. I see it for your captain Dallas this week as well. I'd personally prefer to captain Dallas over Alonso this week, by the way. But yeah, I don't mind it. Just make sure you're vice captain someone like Kane. That's all. Chatianya says, should I take Azpilicueta over Rudiger? I can afford him. Yes, probably. Enver says, -4 hit to bring in Bamford for Watkins. Perversely, this might be one where it's the opposite, where it's better if you're wildcarding next week. Because Bamford's got City, Liverpool, Man United as his next 3. Ideally, you'd already be on. This would be the question, Enver. Why weren't you on in game week 29? Or did you free hit? If you free hit in 29, then okay, completely understandable. If you didn't free hit in 29, why isn't he already there? Would be the question. Worth a -4? I don't think so. SM, Jota in for Gundo, question, not for me. Colin Con, Goldie transfer, was going to do Button to Mendy bench boost, but rattled by the earlier message. Is there any harm doing Meslier instead? Listen, that's why I didn't read out the earlier message, mate. A man says, cap Son over Kane, question. Son generally better when Kane assists him. By the way, Colin, I'd still go Mendy. A man said, cap Son over Kane. Son generally better when Kane assists him. Right. Okay. Yeah, fine. Crack on. Francis Logan, what chance do you give Dortmund v City so as FPL players, less rotation, Brill stream? Thanks, Francis. A chance? It's a Champions League quarter-final, so Manchester City know how to fuck things up. And Dortmund's probably the better than the two teams who knocked them out in the last 2 years, in Tottenham and Lyon, respectively. So Dortmund have a chance, but I think City, their position in the Premier League, minds are so focused on this. I think they're ready. I would expect them to go through. Whether they win this tournament or not will depend on the semi-final. Pepsi says, hi James, is Reece James a good gamble? He's a gamble. I don't know if he's a good one. Dread FPL, what's up, bro? No question, just enjoying your work. Thank you. Akram says, Rafinha or Alonzo, captain? Question, great content. It'd be Rafinha for me, mate. Rahul says, start Antonio or Mount. Have Lingard already in the 11. Shouldn't influence your decision. That if you've got Mason Mount, you're going to start him with that fixture. That's the reality. Stian Busdale, non-FPL. It's 2024. By the way, we're about 12 minutes to the FPL deadline, guys. Maybe a little bit more. About 14, actually. Stian Busdale says, non-FPL, it's 2024. Momo's taken the job at Burnley. Poch is back at Spurs, but Kane is at City. What's the Linden 11, and where do they finish in the table? It's too long of a fucking question, mate. What Tottenham's 11 will be in 2024. Listen, if that's what's happening, that's what's happening. There's every chance Harry Kane's not going to be at Tottenham next year, never mind 2024. And to be honest, if Mourinho's still in charge of Tottenham come 2024, which is the end of his contract as it stands 2024, then he will have had to do amazing things, and in which case I'll be happy. Adrian says, going with your logic for the Fulham game, should I start Maja? But over who? Generally speaking, yes. The one thing I'd say on Maja is I would not be surprised if Mitrovic starts this week. And if Mitrovic starts, Maja either plays wide, where he's probably ineffective, or is a sub. I would not be surprised if Mitrovic starts. If there's a time that they're going to throw him in, he's done really well for Serbia over the international break. His confidence is probably up a bit. It might be now. But generally speaking, yeah, I'd play Maja. Vivek says, what to do with Villa assets after this game week? In the bin, mate. Considering the fact that they have potential double game week, but the fixtures aren't that great ahead. Company have Target, Martinez, Watkins, but no wildcard. Bin 'em, mate. Bin 'em. I think there's a strong case to keep Martinez because of the ownership. You know that there's almost definitely going to be a double game week to come as well. The others, bin, mate. Highly recommend, once the deadline's gone, at some point during this week, have a listen to the Aston Villa Fulham Clash of Correspondence we did, which obviously featured Adam Hopcroft. And in his words, he's a Villa fan. It's basically, there was no point having our assets for the rest of this season. I recommend you listen to that. It will clear your mind on what to do. Emmanuel D, Jota and Kane, or Watkins and Fernandez? It's a very easy one for me, Jota and Kane, mate. Rhinos Leeds, I admire how well you deal with stupid questions. You're welcome, mate. Googled the clause story. Just, geez, that's sad, yeah. Can never know exactly why anyone takes such drastic measures, but please be nice, people. It's free. Exactly. 100%. If social media want me to verify who I am when I have to log into Twitter, sign me the fuck up. Let's get rid of these scumbags. Honestly. I don't want to share my private information. Don't fucking use the service then. Seriously. I'm way too tired of the racism, the harassment, the bullying and shit that happens on social media, and I don't know how these companies continue to get away with it. So I have to sign in and prove that my name is James Linden. I could still be Planet FPL on Twitter, but if I fuck up and say something racist or something, they know where to find me. I don't have concerns because I won't slip up. Right? Don't say stupid and dumb things. Don't say hurtful shit to people. It's really easy. Mabasha says, Salah, Bruno, Lingard, Gundogan, Shaw, Stones after bench 3. Whom to bench? I think you're lying. Genuinely. I think you're lying. Jack Porter, Neto for Rafinha. Maybe on the wild card next week, yeah. Steve Orton, -4. Cresswell to Alonzo. So not for me, mate. Clark D, 847685. I have high hopes for Odegaard and Salah tonight. Dan J says Target or Diaz. Play Diaz. Emmanuel D, Lingard or Jota. I think this week you play Lingard. If I was buying one at the moment, it'd be Jota. James Clark, because they're racist themselves. Dread FPL says agreed. I've caught up with the questions, guys. If you want to fire, it's 10 minutes to the FPL deadline. By all means, fire. If you've got any non-FPL questions, hold them till 10 o'clock so I can cover it. If anyone's got any last-minute FPL questions building up to the deadline. James Clark, ask a question that doesn't appear on the graphics, however. It's there. Brian says, which two should I play out of Watkins, Target, Lingard and Soufal? The two attacking players, mate. Next. 11 Iron Ross Kenny. Hi, mate. Stones or Cruz? Well, please. Who's Cruz? Who's Cruz? Dread FPL. Do you have any thoughts on Chambers, as in Callum of Arsenal? We spoke about it COTC Thursday. Chambers, Bellerin, Cedric. I mean, from an FPL perspective, no. Just avoid all three of them, in my opinion. And Adam Pritchard at 352 has been quite positive about Bellerin in the past. Thinks there's every chance he'll leave in the summer now. I think there's probably a time and a place for him to play right back, and I would suggest that today's probably not it. Micah De Bono, what would be better, Mount or Calvert or Rafinha? Or Mount for Calvert or Rafinha? I'm not sure I understand your question, Mike. Mount for Calvert or Rafinha? In terms of preference of like what we're doing with them this week, well, Rafinha captain, then Calvert-Lewin captain, Mason Mount don't appear on my list. So, yeah, bin off Mason Mount if you want, if that's your question. Tom Edmondson saying start Bale or Lingard. I'm going to presume you joined the stream quite late. I'll cover for Gareth Bale again with clarity. I think he'll start. I put that at 60%. If he doesn't start, I think his Tottenham career is basically over. I think the Newcastle fixture, because Dummett is very defensive left back, is suitable to bring him back into the team. Therefore, I think he starts. I won't be surprised if he doesn't start. I'm very unconfident about the Tottenham team this week. If you're asking me to predict it, 4-2-3-1, let's go. Loris in goal, Tanganga right back, Sanchez and Rodon centre back, Reggie on left back, Højbjerg and Dombele, Bale on the right, Lucas behind Kane, Son on the left. It could easily be Ori over Tanganga. It could easily be Alderweireld over Sanchez or Rodon. It could easily be Giovanni Lo Celso instead of Lucas or Bale. Lamella's back from suspension. Could he even go 4-4-2 again and play Vinicius up front with Harry Kane? I wouldn't have thought so. So, listen, it's really difficult to predict the Tottenham team this week. I don't know what that dickhead is going to do. Hanu says, sell TAA to fund DCL on wildcard this week. You're on wildcard now. You should already be clear in your mind what you're doing if you're on wildcard, rather than making last minute decisions. I wouldn't want Calvert-Lewin on wildcard, personally. Great fixture this week, but I wouldn't want him on wildcard. Cyrus Bernard, who's first 5 players in your wildcard? Kane, I think probably Vardy, Kieran Tierney of Arsenal, Diogo Jota, Liverpool. I'll 10 o'clock. I'll go through my first draft, and definitely a Wolves player, possibly even Connor Cody, but maybe, to be honest, Son and Lloris. To be very honest, Garlic 25 brought in Alonzo. Would you take out Cancelo for sure, or Reggie? Another free transfer. Only if you're planning to get rid of Cancelo. To be honest, Reggie looks a lock this week. We haven't got information yet on Ben Davies' injury. Reggie's going to start most of the games. So's Luke Shaw, but United are pretty safe for top 4 now, and obviously still in Europe as well. I'm not sure I'd bother. RACS, morning James. Any doubts on whether Gundogan will start for City, having played every game for Germany? Yeah, loads of doubts, mate. I don't pick the team. It's a doubt every week with Guardiola, isn't there? Emmanuel D, Mount or Jota? If it's this week, Mount, but longer term, Jota. Dana J says, why do people think Alonzo is a 1 week punt? I think he starts at least 4 of the next 5 Premier League games. Wow, that's big. Come back and screenshot that in like 5 weeks. Vivek Gore, thanks mate for the answers. Last one, any Arsenal defender to target apart from Leno? Considering Arteta would be prioritising UEFA Europa League, and there would be rotation. There definitely will be, but it's just Tierney. Don't overthink it, mate. Tierney or don't bother. Dan Clark, I've stupidly owned Werner for most of the season. Today is the last chance. Listen, Werner could get 5 today. I promise you I will not have him next week. Dan Clark, I've stupidly owned, that's what we've just done. Shane Moraes, Cresswell or target if Martinez in goal. Cresswell either way, mate. Mike Husa, DCL in for Watkins on a free, or hold Watkins for 2 frees next week. If it's free, I'd probably do it, Mike. Jake Richards, Dallas or Diaz, Dallas this week, mate. Nafuku, Alonzo hype. Also have to remember Alonzo had his worst game of the season against West Brom 3-3. Yeah, it was also a different manager and probably a different system as well. Neil Appels, if playing one Liverpool defender, TAA or Robbo. I think we lean to Trent at the moment. Adi Tour, best goalkeeper for this week as I'm wildcarding next week. Meslier. FPL roasted. Hey James, Cancelo or Lingard? I wouldn't leave the City player out personally. Adam Tessiman, Saka or JWP? Question. Good luck this week. Don't think Saka's going to play, so don't think it'll matter, mate. Willie A, can you give your reasons why to play Pope over Martinez, please, mate? Sorry if you answered it already. That's okay. I did. I fancy Burnley for a clean sheet this week and not Villa. George Nibbs, do you think Phillips or Liverpool is viable to have for the rest of the season? Most likely first bench player. Yeah, it's most likely my third bench player. Dry Ice Jar, who to captain, Alonzo or Rafinha? It's a clue on the screen, my friend. Owen Walsh, sorry James, just joined. Who to drop, Lingard or Antonio? Cheers lad, play Antonio for me, mate. You're going to know that. Owen O'Neill, Nos, thanks for the response. Nosbit, hey James, not on bench ticker, Bale or Antonio? I play Antonio, mate. Ray Qureshi, no better way to prep for the twins' birthday party than listening to James. Enjoy the party, Ray. Best regards to you and the family, mate. George Baker, hi James, would you start Diaz or Watkins? That's a better one. I'd start Watkins, honestly. The D production, would you choose Azpilicueta as captain rather than Kane? What do you think? What do you think? Read the bio of the stream. Garlic25, what about the target instead? Back three would be Cancelo, Alonzo and Shaw or Reggie. Thanks. Don't understand your question, mate. Sorry. Cheers, James Clark. I suppose I meant to say something about tell everyone to give the stream a like, hit the subscribe button. 56 likes. That's pretty piss poor, actually, isn't it? Mabasha Mema said, no, I'm not lying. I'm playing. No, I'm not reading out all them names, mate. It's too much. It's too much. I can't remember your question. General Vox, chance of... You really did not just answer me. The chance of Bale starting against Newcastle. Rewind, mate. I've only covered it about 5 times. Shane Moraes, confidence in Salah. Low. Jacko, play Vardy or Cancelo? I'd play Vardy. Don't leave out a player like that, in my opinion. Ian O'Neill, cheers for the help again this week. Best of luck. Ivan Kovacevic says, start Bale or Gundo? Gundo. EPL ETYV, hi there, I've got Aspi, Dallas, Target and Cresswell. Which one would leave on the bench? Please hurry. I might take my time. I'd bench Target, mate. Sammy B, what's your overall rank, mate? Shit. About 330k, I think. Dylan Farrell, 250 plus concurrent viewers asking for help and only 20% of these people can afford a like. It's free to like the stream, guys. Cheers, Dylan. Love you, mate. Garlic25, sorry, sell Target to get Shaw or Reggie. Back three will be Alonzo, Shaw and Cancelo if I do. Is it Shaw or Reggie? I'm still confused, mate. Yes, I would sell Target, bottom line. I would personally... I'd buy Shaw. Cyrus Barnard's writes is lock it in, lads and girls. General Vox is Bale to Havertz, Mount for a hit. Don't have time. The answer's no, mate. Stall Express 76, start Mount or Concert, Mount, Theo Gabriel. Who to cap, please? If only there was a graphic on the bottom right hand corner of the screen that gave you my top 10 preferential captaincies in order. Billy Hadaway says Dyer or Davis. Well, Davis out for a couple of weeks, so Dyer might get some minutes. Lock it in, guys. I'll make it deadline time. Yeah, it's fucking the clock's an hour wrong. I just realised. Captain. I'm British summertime now, mate. As ever, big thanks to my man on the graphics, FPL Captain. You can give him a follow on Twitter. There's his handle there, where I've just pointed above the singular live section. He's a massive help. Does it all for free. He's an absolute superstar. Change the fucking clock for next week, though, mate. No more FPL questions. Ban that. I will come back in a sec to TJ Powell's question. Before I do, though, I did say I'd read out my first wildcard draft, and I'm happy to do that. And I'm not saying this won't change, but I'll just to put some names into your head, I'm happy to share it with you in terms of what it is. So Loris and Sanchez as goalkeepers, 5 defenders, Tierney, Diaz, Saiz, Rudiger, Phillips, 5 midfielders, Aubameyang, yes, Son, Jota, Gundogan, Rafinha, 3 forwards, Kane, Vardy, Iheanacho. There are many benching headaches ahead for me there, if that's the sort of team I end up with, but there's a very, very good reason why. And before you activate that wild card, for those who are thinking of doing so in game week 31, I want to briefly explain for the benefit of those who haven't perhaps listened to the podcast, the possibilities of what can happen with remaining blanks and doubles. What's really important in the first instance is to understand the following. The Premier League want to move either game week 36, which is scheduled to start on Tuesday 11th of May, or game week 37, which is currently scheduled to start on Saturday the 15th of May, to the midweek afterwards. The reason that they want to do that is to allow every single team to host a home game with up to 10,000 fans in the final week of the season. The legislation at the moment suggests that that's something that will be allowed from Monday the 17th of May. It doesn't matter if they move match week 36 or 37, because in both of those game weeks the same 10 teams are at home in both of those weeks, and obviously the other 10 teams are at home in match week 38. I want to explain what could happen from the perspective of doubles and blanks and reconsider this. If I had other chips right now, i.e. free hit or bench boost, I would not wildcard now. I would wait. I would wait in the hope that it could be amazing. And I'll explain a couple of things. Let's say in the first instance that they move the weekend of, and this might do you a favour to get a calendar in front of you. Let's say they move the match week of 37, the weekend, to the midweek afterwards. Now that weekend also has the FA Cup final. Should that happen, basically, I don't think a lot's going to change. What we'll likely have, and this would be working on the assumption that Southampton did not make the FA Cup final, I think that we would just have Villa versus Everton that weekend, Southampton versus Crystal Palace, and then we'll have 10 fixtures in the midweek. Now, the suggestion might be that if they move that 37 to the midweek, they may also move the 36 from the midweek to the weekend. They could also move 36 to after 37. Now, this creates a couple of possibilities. Just work with me for a minute. Let's say that they move 36 to the midweek after 37. So then what we'd have is a big free midweek for match week 30 after match week 35. The two fixtures we don't know about are highly likely to go in there. Southampton versus Crystal Palace and Aston Villa versus Everton. There would be two further fixtures go into that midweek, and those would be the fixtures that need to be postponed for the FA Cup final. So if it was match week 37 fixtures that were getting postponed, let's say Leicester and Man City was the FA Cup final, then we'd be looking at Chelsea and Leicester and Brighton against Manchester City moving forward to the midweek of 35. So in that midweek, we would have Villa versus Everton, Southampton versus Palace, Brighton versus Manchester City, Chelsea versus Leicester. Now, what I have no idea is if the FPL will move the deadlines or not. So, there's a number of things that could happen. If they move the FPL deadline forward to the weekend, then you've probably got a game week 35 with 8 teams doubling, as per what I've just said, those 8 teams. Then game week 36 at the weekend, the 4 teams who have their fixture postponed because of the FA Cup final, Man City, Brighton, Chelsea, Leicester, would not have a fixture. They would blank. So they would go straight from double to blank. But what also happens if FPL, and they had issues doing this last year, don't move the FPL deadlines? So currently, game week 36 is set for that midweek where those 4 fixtures could end up going. So what's to say it won't just be 8 teams play? Just the 4 games. A little bit like what game week 18 was, and just the 4 teams play. And then what that would create is a double game week 37 where the other 12 teams would have a double game week. I cannot tell you what's going to happen. There is no factual, physical way of knowing. And if the government say come May the 12th, sorry, you can't have fans, fixtures ain't going to move. The key date for knowing what may happen is April the 12th, because that's when the next tiering of the lockdown comes into place. Or, sorry, the coming out of lockdown. So after April 12th, in that week, we're going to get a clearer idea of what may or may not happen. That's not going to help people wildcarding this week. You are not going to get the information this week, and I wouldn't expect to get the information ahead of 32. And in any case, if you waited that long, you ain't going to wildcard in 32 because of the problem of obviously City, Tottenham, Southampton, Fulham blanking in game week 33. You're going to wait to at least 33. Hopefully by that stage, you'll have some answers. Now, if you've got bench boost left, potentially you can wildcard to set up an amazing bench boost. But you need that free hit as well. If it works the way where I said 8 teams playing 36 and you've got 12 teams double in 37. Because how do you maneuver 36? You could wildcard 35 and set for the bench boost, but you fucked for 36, you've got no players. There are a number of different things that could happen, and one of the things that obviously could happen is that nothing happens. And literally at the end, we just have a double game week for Villa, Everton, Southampton, Palace. Yay. Whoopie-doo. That's a possibility. There are loads of things that could happen. We could have a week. The 36-37 could be hell for people without chips. Managing through a blank with 8 teams and the following week with 12 doublers. It would be a scramble to try and get probably 6-7 players from the blank and then smash out a couple of hits for the doublers the following week. Is the most probable possibility. Bear in mind, City might be part of that blank, right? They might have a Champions League final to prepare for. Same could apply to Chelsea as well. Grim. On 33, just a note on 33 as well. Fulham and Southampton could play each other in that game week if Southampton get to the FA Cup final. It's unlikely, but it is a possibility. Because should the match week 36 midweek move to the weekend, guess what fixture Southampton will have to have postponed? Yep, Fulham at home. I think there's a small possibility Southampton v Fulham could be played at 6 o'clock on the Monday of April the 26th, which is in game week 33. But that's a lot of connecting dots. I just want you to be aware that there is still a small possibility, and it would be a single fixture for both because obviously they blank. There is a possibility. I hope that helps. What I want people to do before they activate the wild card is understand what they're going to do. I think for people like me who have no other chips left, I still think wild carding is the best thing to do because the swing of fixtures now for Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Leicester, Wolves, upcoming double for Tottenham, Man City still having good fixtures, too big. It's too big. I have 3 Man City players, I have 2 Tottenham players. And I'm not sure I even want 5 players because that's going to give me a problem in game week 33. So I need to reconnect the dots and have someone like Hugo Lloris, for example. So wildcarders need to consider that. How many Man City Tottenham players you're going to have? You're going to say, I want 3 City players, 3 Tottenham players. Fine. You're going to walk into a big problem in game week 33, so you need to consider that. That also means don't get clever and get someone like Lloris and Fraser Foster. Yes, Southampton could have a fixture in game week 33, but very quickly you've got no goalkeeper for that game week. So you just need to be conscious of that sort of thing. For example, the reason I got Sanchez as the pairer with Lloris at the moment, Brighton got Sheffield United in game week 33. That'll do. And other than that, I'll just play Lloris in the other game weeks. That would be my thinking at the moment. It will be different for everyone. I think those who still have other chips left, not triple captaincy, because you're probably going to use that in 32, but for those who have bench boost or free hit still left, who are wildcarding now, should just have a second thought before they activate. And if you're unsure, DM me. I'll help where I can, but I cannot predict the future. I hope that helps anyway, guys. If you want more on that, we also covered this off on the podcast we did, not the Monday gone, the last feature podcast we did. The first 25 minutes was basically all we talked about was this. Right, let's finish with some of your non-FPL questions. I did say I'd start with TJ Powell. Thanks, TJ. Does Callum Wilson count as a long-term injury for the England 23-man challenge? If he does, I need a major rethink as I've used 5 non-Premier League players. Now, you can have Callum Wilson. It's fine, mate. Callum Wilson could be back tomorrow, although Bruce said unlikely. So, no, that's fine, mate. FPL IP man. Target or Lookman first on bench. Deadline's gone, mate. Jerry Crevers. Hi, James. Are you also looking forward to game week 34 with all matches being played at the same time after this crazy season? Do you mean game week 38, mate? Game week 34 is not going to be at the same time, mate. Callum Mates, cheers, James. Non-FPL, if you wouldn't be covering football, what would be your second passion you'd feel confident to talk about in a show? Fuck, mate. It'd have to be football. I can't hold a conversation about anything else. might be being a dad now, maybe. I think it'd probably be something like, if I had the time in my hands, like getting deep into something like Football Manager, so game content, something like that, maybe. I just don't have the time. I probably wouldn't be good enough at FIFA to do the content for that. But obviously, the way I understand the game, probably Football Manager would maybe be quite suitable. I did actually look at jobs with Sports Interactive who do Football Manager. About before I was working with Suj, about 5 years ago. But I never had anything available at the time. And I just saw in the news yesterday that they're moving to new offices. They're employing loads of new people at the moment. I'd be all over that. All over that. Listen, if you're jobless at the moment and you've got some good computer skills, go, honestly, genuinely, and you're in London, go and have a look at Sports Interactive. They're giving out loads of new jobs and moving offices and stuff. Imagine that, working on Football Manager. Shane Murray says, Fernandes 2 penalties tomorrow. Terrific. Thanks for the spoiler. Joe Gifford, James, I take your point about anonymity on social media, and obviously the racism is unacceptable, but what about people who live in countries with oppressive regimes who need to be anonymous? That's a good question, and probably one I'm not in a position to understand and answer. Get their own version of Twitter then, is the easy thing to say. The thing is, right, you can still be anonymous. So if you, for example, Joe, if you're FPL Joe, right, you could be anyone, right? It's only that Twitter needs to know who you are, etc. No one else needs to know. It's just Twitter. So you don't have to put your name there. As I said, right, I can be Planet FPL. No one can see that my name's James Linden, but obviously Twitter would know. No one else needs to know. You'd have that shit hidden. So, I mean, you could still have a fake account on Twitter. So, I don't see how that would particularly matter. If it mattered that much, you just wouldn't use it. And do people in those sort of places really want to use Twitter? I don't know. I'm not best placed to answer that point, to be fair. G. Shet the Third, did you enjoy your international break? Yes, thoroughly. Because I only watched 2 games of football. So that was good for me. Just break. I'm ready for the running. Colin Con, calculate the distance a snail can travel in 10 hours, then travel that distance and sleep. What about the next day? Is that I got to live my life forever? I spend a lot of fucking money on hotels, don't I? James Clark, is it me or is your time 2 hours slow? Yes, 2 hours slow. Conor Irvine, what do you think football will look like in 100 years? I don't want to think about that. Probably not good. Probably VAR deciding throw-ins. Cyrus Barnard, I love that 100 years time question. Shifo says, hi James, rank these young stars, Foden, Fati, Mbappe, Haaland, and why? Mbappe, Haaland, Foden, Fati. Mbappe, because he's already done it on the biggest stage, Champions League, World Cup. Haaland's coming. Foden, brilliant little player. Fati, honest truth, not seen enough of him. Yogesh says, James, how are you prepping for blank game week 33? With my wild card, mate. So my intention will probably be, as kind of said, 2 City players, 3 Spurs. Obviously, if one of them's a goalkeeper, I can bench 4 of them. I go from 31 wild card with no transfers to 33. I can sell 2. But do I want to, as Spurs play Sheffield United in game week 34? But that's how I'm going to deal with it. Sean X says, currently I have Stones, Diaz and Gundogan on the bench. Do you reckon I should play bench boost or just hold? I reckon, my friend, you should know that the deadline's gone. Martin Boyle, clusterfuck, in other words. En Vasilic, has this been the most difficult FPL season? I think to manage, yeah. Yeah, I think so. James Clark, serious analysis. Cheers, pal. Clyde Bickford, thanks for your thoughts about the upcoming potential disruption. You're welcome, Kubash. Why do you not have Bruno, mate? To be honest, mate, why don't I have Bruno? I'm just trying to think of the best witty answer I can give to this. Why don't I have Bruno? Why don't I have Kevin De Bruyne? Why don't I have Patrick Bamford? Why don't I have Richarlison? Nafunko says, which cricket form... fuck cricket. Relic returns... No offence, mate. Chance of a double game week due to the fans coming back into stadiums is kind of what I've been discussing. Manu says, how to get rid of Leeds triple I have. You mean get rid? Start selling them, mate. Amen says, hi James, who out of these will be at Spurs next season? Kane, Ali and Mourinho. to be honest, the one I'd be most confident of being there next season at the moment is Kane. Joey Curvers, hi James, you sure only game week 38 will be played at the same time? At the FPL website it says everything will be played at the same time from game week 34 under fixtures. Joey, let me tell you, I know a lot more about fixtures than the fucking official FPL website. And in 2 to 3 weeks we'll get the TV fixtures for May and they'll all get moved. Trust me, I'm not a doctor. Good Sonny, do you think Salah can get points versus Arsenal? No, you should have benched him. Yes, obviously. Hello, it's DJ Music Case. Dylan Williams, I benched Lingard and played Watkins last minute. Ez Thrifty, hey James, anything about FPL that annoys you? Yeah, a lot. Some of these dumbass questions. Adil Sheik says, hi mate, I have 2 City assets and 2 Spurs. Is it better to wildcard for game week 34 and use the next few game weeks to build up to game week 33? Well, it depends what your coverage is. If you've got good coverage of Chelsea, Leicester, Wolves, Liverpool, Arsenal, then yeah, of course. I don't have any coverage from them teams, so I'm steaming into them. Enver says, name the best forward, midfielder, defender and goalkeeper in the Premier League this season. Premier League, I think we'd say Emi Martinez, wouldn't we, over the course of the whole season. Defender has got to be Ruben Diaz. Midfield, it depends. What do you class as midfield? Are we saying attacking? So I feel like I don't really want to put Bruno Fernandes into that category. I would say genuinely Declan Rice over Tielemans and Gundogan in terms of actual midfield. Up front, Harry Kane. Dan Clark says, will you be partaking in any Euro 2020 fancy games? Any recommendations? I can't recommend, but yes, I probably will find something for the summer. Yes, we'll probably do some content around it. Denver says, Son to Salah, Jota after game week 33-34. Well, Jota, wildcard 31 for me. The thing with Jota from 34 is you've missed it. 33, I think you've got the Newcastle game, haven't you? But you missed Leeds away as well. So, yeah, look, it's one way of doing it. Upmanu says, possible upset of the week. Man City to pick a strong 11 and win at Leicester. Pete Cordy, hi James, great pod with Fergie and Suj on Wednesday. Appreciate that, mate. Yeah, good Sky pod we did with Fergie. He's absolutely brilliant. Andrew Ferguson from Sky Fantasy Football Hub. You can check out the 3-for-1 Sky podcast 9 p.m. on YouTube on Sunday nights. Adil says, who do you think will win Golden Boot this season? Kane. Nerd says, would you rather go without Man City assets or Salah on wildcard? Go without Salah. And Enver says, what's your opinion on how England performed? Quite well. Pressed very well off the ball. Second half was a little bit flat against Poland. I felt like we ran out of ideas, but I think there was a lot of players missing from the squad as well. Your Grealishes, your Rashfords, Sanchos, and I don't think Southgate was very happy with anything he had on the bench. But for my patrons, I spoke about England a lot this week, so I don't really want to anymore. Thank you for your question, Martin. I am going to leave it there, guys. If you want to support our content, now is a good time to obviously get involved with our Patreon. We don't promise to make you a better FPL manager or a better Sky manager or a better fantasy manager, full stop. But come and join our community. If you want to support the content we do, we'd be very grateful to have you on board. From the £3 basic tier, you get access to the Slack channel. There's over 350 patrons in there and many of the Planet FPL correspondents, and occasionally someone happens to drop some weird leaked team news like Manchester City teams. Doesn't happen often though. You also get access to my spreadsheet, which is primarily for Sky, but you can use for FPL as well. From the intermediate tier, 22 additional podcasts in April, which this week will feature a Q&A on Monday, Tottenham, our rants on Tottenham and West Ham, me and Suj on Tuesdays. Wednesday, we're going to have a look at players who played under Sir Alex Ferguson and went on to manage, and why many of them have been unsuccessful. Thursday will be a quiz. I don't know the theme yet. On Fridays, we always do our game week preview. So Friday we'll have our preview, all the moves we're planning, predictions for all the games, previews for all the games. Every Friday, differential show game week preview. That'll be on Friday. Content for the rest of you, which is free and available this week. Clash of Correspondence this week is now going to be on Monday. Crystal Palace versus Chelsea with McTavish and rotation FPL. That'll be out by lunchtime, well in advance of Crystal Palace Everton kicking off on Monday night. Obviously really want to get Ted on to talk about Chelsea assets for a potential wild card and stuff. We'll talk about Palace and how many players we want for their potential double in Game Week 37. Always good to have a catch up with Mig. Tuesday we'll do full podcast, me and Suj, Planet FPL Season 4, whatever episode it is, reviewing all the action from the game week. Wednesday will be Sky Fantasy Football. Ask James will be on Thursday. I'm going to do 3 p.m. on Thursday this week. And the reason for that is Friday morning, early, we do a little bit of a special on wild cards for game week 31. I'm not sure if Suj is wild carding or not. I definitely am. I'll go through some of my reasoning on Friday in terms of the final decisions, and then obviously be back with the deadline stream on Friday, 5:30 p.m. UK time, hopefully with a clock that's up to date. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. Good luck for game week 30. Hope your arrows are green. Speak to many of you in the week. Ciao for now.